Morning folks, Evan here with Tall Pines Tight Lines. If you'll notice, one, it's a beautiful sunny day in central Georgia. Probably gonna have to get the boat out later, but work to do first. If you'll notice, I am standing by a food plot. There's a feeder. What you'll notice also, it's right off my back porch. So what I'm gonna cover today is some of the benefits and great things that you can learn from having your backyard maintained as a food plot instead of, well, in this scenario, before action, it was just leaves. So let's get into it. As I got waves of germination of the seeds, strategic fertilizer applied over time, you can see we've got a pretty lush. As we get closer to over here, you'll see the growth isn't as extensive, which is deceiving because it's actually browsing pressure, because this is the primary trail that the deer use to come into the backyard. But that aside, nice lush food plot right off the back porch. So you may be wondering, what's the benefit of having a food plot off your back porch? Surely you're not going to be shooting deer out of the backyard. Well, the benefit is, and what you can learn about deer and other wildlife species, their movements, their annual patterns, such things as that, from watching backyard wildlife. So I have a feeder here because I mix in corn and wild bird seed and a whole lot of things here that a suite of wildlife species develop an interest and benefits from. In addition to the direct benefits I get from observing wildlife from the back porch, I also keep a trail camera out, which gives me passive footage of what's happening back here. There's a number of benefits to that, and just off the top of my head while we're out here, I noticed last year, towards the end of the summer, the beginning of the fall, I noticed when bucks were beginning to shed velvet, which was also leading into B, when the bachelor groups began to start breaking up. I also noticed C, when the deer quit using my corn feeder they quit using it for about 2 weeks. That was the peak of the acorn dropping. So from a bow hunter's perspective, if you don't necessarily have direct access to be out here all the time and see exactly when all these acorns are falling, that's great information to have. So, okay, the deer aren't using corn. It's because there's an acorn mass. Slide over here to the trail cam. We're going to pull this card and go take a look. Oh, while I'm at it, one quick tip. When it comes to trail cams, got this trail cam card holder here. It's got slots to put a tab for filled and a tab for empty. That way, if you're, for me, for the backyard, it's not that big of a deal if I grab the wrong card. But if you're running a number of cams off in a remote setting, not getting your cards mixed up can become pretty important. Just a little pro tip. Yeah, that's nice. And for the record, I'm not a major supporter of feeders. I'm not necessarily morally opposed to feeders. There are concerns about feeders in areas with higher deer densities and CWD concerns and such. I run a feeder because there's a suite of animals in my backyard that really appreciate it. So, as I mentioned earlier, I mix in corn, bird feed, lots of different things. And just really helps me get a better idea of what's going on sometimes. So those of you that know me well know that I grew up on the Alabama coast and recently moved to Georgia. The annual patterns for deer in central Georgia are much different from coastal Alabama. So having my backyard food plot, feeder, and trail camera out has really helped me to better understand the annual patterns of the deer. So it's one thing to monitor trail cam pictures and keep thousands of pictures in files and all. One of the things that I've noticed that has helped me out is keeping a monthly calendar of activities. So, for example, I noticed on August 31st that there was some branch licking going on. Okay, that's a good, seasonal significant event. 9/24, velvet officially off for OB. That's O-Big, and that's the largest one of that group. I mentioned earlier when we were outside, but also made notes on when the mass crop was happening. So approximately 10:20. Acorn fall has peaked and frequency beginning to dwindle. That's the frequency of utilization of the deer of the backyard feed. Lots of mass on the ground. Now let's take a look at what that looks like in a short selection of trail cam photos. August 28th, daylight pictures of that group of 3 bucks. August 31st, the larger of the three, he's not a giant yet, and he's not that old, but he's a little bit older and larger than the other ones, is starting to show some dominance. Oh wait, what is this? 831st, looks like branch licking to me. Yep. Yeah, that's scraping. Oh, here we are, September 11th. Velvet is coming off. Not long after that, time for the big boy to start pushing the other ones around. Yep. So what's the point in all this? Well, first, backyard food plots are great. Look at that. That's real nice. Secondly, you can learn a lot. Learn a lot about what the animals in your area are doing, especially if you've moved to a new area. I encourage you to get out, plant some backyard food plots, and see what the animals are doing, learn about it, and get outside.